So back in the day, there used to be a certain wood chopper that lived in a certain city in Eastern Europe. He was obviously pretty poverty stricken because he's a wood chopper. But one day, he's out doing his thing, his usual work out in the forest, and all of a sudden, he discovers the most immaculate diamond he has ever seen in his life. In fact, maybe the most immaculate diamond any of us would ever see in any of our lives. And he's so stoked. Finally, like he thinks everything's changed. Finally, God has blessed him and he's finally got Parnasa. Finally, he could be a wealthy man. And he's so excited. He grabs this diamond, stops in the middle of his day's work, runs to town, and he starts showing it off. Does anyone know potentially how much this is worth? Can anyone help me evaluate this? And they were like, listen, this is a small town, we don't really have the means, but it looks like that's like the most immaculate diamond of all, but we don't have anyone here who's really capable of evaluating that particular diamond. So they recommend to him, you know what, you should go to Moscow. Moscow is a big city. There's bound to be someone who can give the value of such a diamond. So he didn't have much money, but he decided he would try his luck, and he started out on the long road to Moscow. And in the process, he stopped at an inn and he ordered some food because he hadn't eaten in such a long time. And they brought the food, and eventually it's time to bring the bill, the check. And they say, this is the amount you owe us. And he says, oh, I'm so sorry, but I don't actually have any money on me. And they're like, what do you think this is? We don't just give food for free over here. We're running a business. So he says, look, and he shows them the diamond, and he says, I'm over on my way to Moscow in order to cash in on this diamond. No one in my town could value it. I'm trying to find the value. Right away, the owner of the inn sees the diamond, and he's like, wow, this guy's like one of the wealthiest people I've ever met. Please, sir, no, eat on the house. You don't need to pay us now. All I ask is on the way back, you pass through again, you come to our establishment. You can pay us then. You can be on credit. We just want to see you again. Thinking, dollar bills are in his eyes kind of thing. So this wood chopper is excited. He thanks him, and he leaves. Finally, he makes his way to Moscow. And again, he starts asking around, can anyone give me some kind of valuation on this diamond? And everyone looks at him, sorry, I don't know anyone who could do that, but that's like the most immaculate diamond I've ever seen. And eventually someone says, look, you're not going to find anyone in the entire city of Moscow that can go ahead and give a value on such a diamond. So recommend that you should go to London. London is a much bigger city, much more, business that's done over there. Chances are over there, you'll find someone who can give you a value on such a diamond. So he says, okay, I'll give it a shot, but I don't have any money. What do I do? So he hops on a ship that's bound for London, knowing that he doesn't have the money to pay for the fare that's needed for this ship. So eventually the captain comes around to collect fares, and he's just like, listen, I don't actually have money. And the captain's like, what? What kind of operation do you think I'm running here? He was ready to have his guys throw him overboard. But he says, wait. Before you do anything, let me just show you something. And he shows him the diamond. He says, I'm on my way to London because I'm trying to get the value of this diamond. So the captain's eyes like almost come out of the eye sockets. And he's just like, wow, I've never seen such a diamond in my life. That's probably like this. You're probably the wealthiest man I've ever met in my life. He says, no problem, sir. You will be our VIP guest of honor. Takes him to the first class cabin. He says, this man, he points out a certain waiter, he'll wait on your every need. And, anything you need, he'll take care of you. We'll allow you to, be our guest on credit. So this wood chopper has never been in such a cabin in his entire life. He's been poor his whole life. All of a sudden, for the first time ever, he's got a tablecloth on his table. He's never had a tablecloth on his table his entire life. So each and every day he ordered whatever he ordered. He didn't know much about, fine food and fine dining. That every time the waiter would bring the food, he would take out the diamond and he would put it in front of him, and you just love to marvel at it. Now, back in those days, I don't know if they do this anymore. I haven't been on a cruise or anything that I would know about such things, but apparently back in those days, when the meal was concluded, they would take the plates off and the forks and knives and whatnot, and then they would just wrap up all the tablecloth, go to the window, flap it out of the window, and that's how you clean the table. So, like I said, every single day he would order whatever you ordered. He was in a VIP cabin. He was having the best time. And he would put out his diamond on the table because he loved to admire it. And one day, he dozed off in the middle of the meal. Came in the waiter. He saw that the wood chopper had dozed off. He didn't want to wake him, but he wanted to clear the table. So he cleared off the plates and the forks and the knives, wrapped up the tablecloth, went over the window, flapped it out, and left. All of a sudden, the wood chopper wakes up and he puts two and two together and he realizes what happened. His diamond, that life-changing diamond, is in the bottom of the sea right now. But you know what? He says, you know what? Hashem gives and Hashem takes. Obviously, I wasn't meant to have that diamond. It was good while it lasted, but obviously that money, that parnasa wasn't meant for me. I have faith. But he says, I can't tell the captain that I've lost out on that diamond, because as soon as he finds out about it, he knew the captain, he could get a sense of the guy's personality. He would throw him overboard without thinking twice about it. So he says, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say I have it, but I'm not going to say I don't have it. So they continued, to treat him with such respect, and each day he ate as he did. And before coming to shore in London, one night there was a knock on his door, and the captain asked if he could have a moment with the woodchopper. So he said, by all means, please. Captain said to him, listen, I think I can trust you. The other men, I don't know about how much I can trust them. They are wealthy men like you. You have nothing to gain from me, so I feel like, you're someone I can trust. So he says, listen, I'm not proud to say this, but I used to be a big thief, a big robber. I stole a lot of treasure. And I'm not so proud of it, but I changed my ways. As you can see, I'm a captain. I'm a working man now. And the thing is that I have still got a lot of the treasure that I stole in my past life. And I know that I would like to change it in for cash, obviously, but if I went to shore with this, they would ask, wait, how does a captain come to such a load? And they would question it. And chances are I'd get in trouble. So he said, but you're a wealthy man, and no one would question you, and you've got your giant diamond and everything like that. So here's what I propose. When you go to shore in London, why don't you take the treasure that I have with me? I will give it over to you. And you'll go and sell it off, and we'll split it 50-50. You wait in a certain hotel in the room. I'll come and ask in the lobby, for you. And we'll meet on such, on day 1 or day 2 or whatever it is from our, embarkment at London, and then we'll split the money. So the woodchopper's like, of course I'm in, He doesn't have the diamond anymore, but he was like, wow, Hashem has been so kind. So they make an agreement, they shake hands on it. Finally, they embark, and they come and they stop off in London. And the woodchopper gets off and he goes to the hotel that the captain had said, and he gets a room there. And he offloads the treasure like was agreed upon. And he waits for the allotted time when the captain says that he's going to come and they're going to, give him the half that he deserves. But come that hour, and the captain never arrived. Thought maybe I got the day wrong or whatever. The next day, still the captain didn't arrive. Finally, the third day, captain still hadn't arrived. He's like, what's going on here? Next thing you know, he gets a knock on the door. He's like, finally the captain's here. He opens the door, and the waiter that had been waiting on him the entire time he was on the ship says, sir, I don't know how to tell you this, but after we embarked, we got off at London. We went and we found only yesterday the captain dead by natural means in his own room. And all of a sudden, the woodchopper realized that the captain had given him over the treasure. The treasure was now all his, and he had made a better profit probably than he would have even made on the diamond. And he realized that indeed God had been good to him. God had changed his fortune, but not in the way that he expected, in a completely unexpected way. Nevertheless, he had faith all along. So the lesson, or at least one lesson, is that whatever is meant for you will come into your hand, and whatever is not meant for you will not come into your hand. And sometimes you think something comes into your hand and it's meant for you, but it doesn't necessarily always mean that it is meant for you. However, Hashem has a way of working things out as exactly as it's supposed to be. And Rabbi Nachman tells us that even if you have parnasa coming to you from above, the Yetzer Hara will do everything in its power, the Satan will do everything in its power to keep you from achieving that, from receiving that, and the way that it sees fit in order to block you off from receiving that parnasa is bringing you to a level of anger. As soon as you become angry, you lose all that parnasa.